Welcome, college basketball fans, to the Full Court Press Podcast with LT and Sammy D. This is the podcast that brings you legendary stories from college basketball's golden era and dives in deep with a current analysis of today's game. Get ready for the most energetic and entertaining college basketball podcast around. Let's get it.
Hello and welcome to another Full Court Press Podcast, a college basketball experience. Luke Taylor here. I got Sammy D with me. And just don't forget, if you love the podcast, you like the podcast, you think we're palatable, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Give us a 5-star on Apple Podcast. Give us a nice review. Also on Spotify. And don't forget our YouTube channel, the Full Court Press Podcast YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. And if you really like us and you want to give us a solid, reach out to, there's a starting 5, reach out to 4 of your closest college basketball friends and tell them about the press, because we are taking over. And I am excited because next Tuesday, we're going to start our Legends, the untold stories of college basketball, with a guest who is the new assistant coach to the guests we have this week. And I'm really excited. And we're simply going to call this podcast The Return of the Mack.
Chris Mack making a strong return after 2 years, spending time with family. Talked a little bit about that on the upcoming episode, and what he enjoyed about that. But yeah, Coach Chris Mack, man, what a last couple decades, with Xavier, with Louisville, and one of the hottest names in the coaching circle when new positions opened up this past year, and a lot of rebuild opportunities that I'm assuming he passed on to take over College of Charleston, which his good friend and former assistant coach Pat Kelsey moved on from. Really interesting dynamic there. Like, you had some awesome questions about what that dynamic was like while they were kind of moving from one university to the next. And but yeah, what a great episode we have coming up. I mean, Coach Mack is a good coach, excellent guy, and you can tell why he's so attractive for players to play with and play for, and coaches to coach in a supporting role with him.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is his overall record. I didn't realize this. We didn't talk about this until now in my research.
Yeah.
278 wins, 133 losses. Now, what I didn't ask him, and maybe you can add this. So he was a JV head coach for a girls' school in Cincinnati, Macaulay. Mm-hmm. Do you think his wins and losses are part of that total?
No, probably. I think it's just coach. I think it's just his head coaching at the collegiate level.
Yes, and I don't know if you've ever seen the College of Charleston campus. I was just down there a couple of weeks ago, and we were.
What do you think?
Yeah, we went to one of the battleships, and we passed their I think their soccer and baseball facilities. And the campus is gorgeous. We've talked about maybe getting down for the Charleston Classic this year, because there's a whole bunch of teams that we've covered on the podcast. It'd be a fun trip. Charleston's an awesome city, as you know. So I think it's a great fit for him. They were 27-8 last year, made to the NCAA tournament, won the Coastal Athletic Conference, and lost to Alabama by 13. And he brings back Ante Brzovic. I think it's Brzovic. Sorry, I butchered it. And they've got a lot of international flair on that team too.
Yeah, I mean, 7 international guys on the team, which, I do think
you forgot the kid from Cleveland.
Yeah, right. I think that's gonna, when you get schools that don't have a massive NIL budget, right? Like, the play there is international student athletes, because they can't participate in NIL the way it's set up currently, right? And so really smart move by Coach Mack to bring Chris Harriman on. Harriman's coming from SLU. He brings a couple good players with him from SLU, but he's recognized around the country as one of the best international recruiters at this level. And so we're going to see a different style of play from College of Charleston this year. I mean, I do think the research I did for a lot of these guys coming in, their field goal percentage is going to be off the charts. I mean, you can tell that's just one of the things that Coach Mack was looking for, is high field goal percentage. And, and he talks about shooting the 3, and They're going to be shooting a lot of threes this year.
Yeah, but he's recruiting high IQ players, right? So you look at AJ
Sure.
Smith, averaged 16.2 points a game down the street at the Citadel, which is a military college of South Carolina. I really like Darren Boyd from Lipscomb, averaged just under 18, was second team A-Sun. And they've got some other guys, Elijah Jones from Green Bay. I mean, he's a good player. But then all the foreign players, they've got a couple returners, which is good because then it keeps the culture in the system. And I think if you're international and UC Charleston, you will fall in love with it.
For sure. Absolutely. I mean, it's a historic city in the U.S. and just the charm down there mixed with like a college setting. You can tell why it's why people want to go down there and play and visit. And, so it's a really good episode coming up. I mean, I've circled on my calendar November 8th. That's when College of Charleston plays USF, who we recently had on the podcast with Coach Amir. That's going to be a battle for that early in the season. That's going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like about him was his bashing of Cleveland. I mean, he was born there and he's like born in Cleveland, raised in Cincinnati. And
he's got a
funny
thing that says Cleveland, but yes, he's Cincy like through and through. That's for sure.
But it's funny. His wife with him was a closet Steelers fan up until they got married, which is hilarious.
Yeah, everyone's gonna have to listen to hear the full story. But that was a good little nugget he threw in there about his relationship with his wife, Christy.
Yeah, and what I like about him, just quickly, is there's a lot of similarities between Coach Zoe, Conzo Martin. They took some time off. He did kind of say about how he kind of missed the initial NIL, so it's a little bit different, and I think he knows what he's walking into. But I think it's going to be a really good situation. I think the Pat Kelsey hire in Louisville, one of his buddies, and then him replacing him, and then kind of the full circle. I think it's going to be both for good programs, and we'll see how they do this year. I think they're going to do well. I mean, USF was predicted to do last in the American Conference, and they won the regular season title. So anything can happen, right?
Yeah. It's a great conference, that's for sure.
Yep.
And
anything can happen, just like our podcast.
That's right. Anything can happen. Well, LT, let's get into it, baby.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and don't forget the Legends, Full Court Press Legends airs next Tuesday.
It's going to be
college legend.
Yeah. Our first Legends episode. It's fire. Like time with that. So.
And every 2 weeks, so twice a month, we'll have a different legend, and we'll have some fun. We'll talk about some hip hop. We'll talk about some players. A lot of great stories. A lot of untold stories. And I'm always going to ask him who their top 5 was. And this guest, it was kind of surprising who his top 5 was and who was not in there, which obviously makes sense. So, all right, let's talk to Coach Chris Mack from the College of Charleston Cougars.
Let's get it, LT.
Sam, you know what one of my favorite songs was in college?
I can only guess by our next guest that we have on here, but I'll let you call it out.
It was a song where they said, "Return of the Mack." Once again, "Return of the Mack." There's also "She Lied to Me" in that, but we won't go there. But we got Coach Chris Mack from the College of Charleston Cougars men's basketball team. Welcome to the Full Court Press podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Do you remember that song, Coach?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my athletic director, Matt Roberts, actually referenced a few of the lyrics at my press conference. So it sort of showed that he's still hip and with the times.
Yes. One of the lines I like, that I'm back to run the show. And you're back after a hiatus. There was talks from, you remember Coach Kaufman, Sam, was talking about this coach we have on right now is one of the funniest. And he can't wait for him to come back. And I remember there were rumors that, DePaul should go after him, but I heard he wanted sunshine. And God, I've been to Charleston. I was just there. You got sunshine, Coach.
You got more than sunshine. We also have humidity. And, I'm obviously supposed to be a representative of the community. But right now, man, it's been pretty brutal here over the last week. And so the summers are a little warm. That's why it's nice to have the water close by. But, sunshine and a little bit of humidity right about now.
Yeah.
Yeah, LT, like you've said, I mean, we've had the honor of interviewing a lot of Ohio coaches, Indiana coaches, Kentucky coaches, and Coach Mack has just a legendary reputation in that area and on a national level.
I don't know because he was born in Cleveland, raised in Cincinnati. Depends on who he roots for in the NFL.
He kind of has the best of both worlds there, kind of.
No, he doesn't.
I'm going to tell you right now, there's no hope that I will ever root for anybody from Cleveland. I was born there. I wasn't raised there. That was a brief stop. Wow. I am a Cincinnati Bengal, Cincinnati Red through and through.
Yeah. How'd you like that 2-0 record against the Browns last year?
That's not true. That's not true. We were 1-1. we beat them when they basically took their entire starting unit and put it off to the side because they were already in the playoffs, and the Bengals got to 9 wins. So yeah, we've had trouble with the Browns even when they've been the cellar dweller.
Yeah.
So, Coach, I want to talk a little bit about your 2-year kind of hiatus from head coaching, what you're up to, and then really your name was thrown out with basically every position that opened up, right? And so I kind of want to know what after the 2 years, what was so appealing about College of Charleston?
Well, I guess I'd first backtrack and say that, the first 2 years I really enjoyed time away from the game, but more importantly, time with my family. I have 2 daughters that play. They're both playing collegiately or about to play collegiately volleyball. Had the opportunity to watch, some of my daughters' college games, some of my other daughters' club tournaments, a lot more than I'd ever have in the past. I also have a 4th grade son going into 4th grade. And so just to be able to be dad, be a husband, and really put away the phone and be full-time in that area was really refreshing. And it's not something that happens to a lot of us during our coaching years. You might get a weekend here or there or a snapshot of a vacation between summer session 2 and the start of the fall. But I really, really enjoyed that time. And for the first 2 years, I didn't even look to try to get back into coaching. I wasn't sure if I was really going to do it. And then started talking to a few of my friends in the business, visited a few practices, and doing some of the field of 68 work and trying to keep up with the college game, sort of knowing what was going on, but being removed from it. And I'm talking about the NIL and portal. And I didn't get bitter over it because I wasn't dealing with it. And so it was really refreshing for me to come into this position, and why I came into Charleston for a lot of reasons, really. Number one, that the history of the program. There were some high major schools that, quite honestly, I think I know I could have had the job, but I want to be at a place that's used to winning. Pat Kelsey before me and a lot of coaches before him really did an amazing job of establishing and keeping a tradition that hopefully we're able to uphold and continue to grow and continue to build. I knew Pat personally. He and I worked together. We grew up a couple miles apart. And so I knew that he would leave a good culture, guys that understood how to be coached, that were about the right things. And although we didn't have a roster of 12 people when I got here because of the portal, there were still some leftover guys that knew what expectations were, how to be coached, and most importantly, do it the right way and win. And then you start to take in all the other factors. I got a great AD who's really with it. There's synergy between the president, the alignment that I think is more important to me now than ever. And then, Charleston, if you haven't been here, you're really missing out. Obviously, it's a vacation spot for a lot of people, but there are a lot of people that are native to the area that just absolutely would never leave. There's so much to do, the history of the city and the community, the restaurants, the culture, the ability to get to a beach in 15 minutes anywhere you want. It's just it's a really cool spot.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Ohio. So it's interesting. Okay, so you have a long history with Pat Kelsey, obviously, and you were at Louisville. He's at Louisville. He was at Charleston. You were at Charleston. What were the conversations like about both jobs? You telling him kind of about Louisville, and him telling you about Charleston?
Yeah, I think we both had a healthy respect for not necessarily, trying to I don't know how to phrase this necessarily, but like I didn't want to give him any preconceived ideas, and I don't think he wanted me to have any preconceived ideas of like, hey, you're going to always have frustrations at places. You're also going to have things that are really awesome about the position and the job that you have, but we didn't want to give each other like, hey, these are the obstacles, right? Like you're going to learn those on your own because they may not be an obstacle to Pat. They may not be an obstacle to me. What I enjoy doing off the floor is a lot different than what Pat enjoys doing off the floor. And so how he coaches his program, although we coach together and he coached under me for a little while, we do things, I don't want to say vastly different, but we do things different. And there's greatness in those differences. It's to each his own. I watched Syracuse win a national championship with Carmelo playing a 2-3 zone. I watched Nolan Richardson never play zone and go 40 minutes of hell and press all of them. So there's going to be different ways to skin a cat. But we had really good talks. It was more about, where are your kids going to go to school? What are the areas of town that you look at? Like what were the tough spots of where you lived in terms of getting to work, traffic patterns, not necessarily like the ins and outs of the athletic department. He certainly echoed that Matt Roberts, our athletic director, is a superstar, and he was right. And I said the same thing about Josh Hurd. I mean, I love Josh at Louisville, man, just a man of high integrity and character, and he got a good one in Pat. So, no, it was there were a lot of a few conversations, but it happens so fast, fellas. It happens within a 48, 72-hour window of beginning talks and actually getting the job offered to you. So it's not like you have a lot of free time to get on the phone, and you're also worried about hiring a staff and getting to recruiting. So I'd say we probably had 2 or 3 phone conversations and a lot of text, but other than that, it was sort of business as usual when you first take over a program.
Yeah. So you started as a head coach of a JV all girls team. How much of that?
Macaulay High School, baby, Macaulay High School.
I know, Macaulay High School. There you go. How much of what you did back then are you going to translate to Charleston?
Well, I'll say this. It's about people. Whether you coach a JV team or whether you coach an NBA team, it's about how you treat people and the relationships that you build. I think in high school, you're building a lot of hopefully healthy relationships with parents. It's the helicopter parent of 2024 is way different than 1984. I remember when I played high school basketball, it's like none of the parents said anything, and now it's, as you know, a lot different. Yeah, and so it's the reality of it. A lot of parents see what they want for their child and what they want versus how they go about getting it. It's probably 2 different things sometimes, but I'm still dealing with people. I still loved what I did when I coached at Macaulay High School. And I still love what I'm doing now. I'm very grateful for it.
Paycheck's a little bit different.
No, they pay great in the Catholic School League. Back in
all my kids go to Catholic school. I know how it works, Coach.
I think I got a check for, I want to say, $1,400 at the end of a 4.5-month season. But hey, that was a lot of money when I was 23 years old.
When you're young, you're going to take what you can get just being on the court. So right. You talk about building a staff, and like you got pretty busy building your staff early once you took the job. Yeah. When I'm looking at the background of your staff, I'm incredibly impressed, right? I don't think that there's another program, especially in Coastal Athletic Conference or Athletic Association, as well as kind of competitive conferences, that's going to have like a Chris Herronman, a Jeff McGinnis, a Christian Cunningham, Trey Campbell. Like, what was it like kind of putting this? I mean, it's like, what were those conversations like bringing some of those guys on board? Because I've already seen the impact that like Herringman's had with his international recruiting and his time at SLU and where the game's going with him. But it's congrats on putting this squad together. But I want to give you kind of a few minutes to talk about these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited, for each and every one of them that ultimately said they wanted to be here at Charleston with me. I think I had a connection basically with each of them. The only guy I didn't know as well was Jeff McGinnis. And it probably took me about.
Hey, coach, did you ask Randolph Childress about Jeff McGinnis?
That's one that poor Jeff's never going to be able to live down. We actually talked about it, joked about it, but Hey, man, he's more than one play. That was a tough play, though.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it took me about a half hour into our interview to realize, like, what an awesome dude. Like, the experiences that Jeff was able to accumulate in the NBA and during his time at Carolina. I mean, how valuable for our players. I mean, like, to be in the same, locker room, the same huddle, same floor with LeBron and just some of the greats that he's played with. Today, for instance, we come off the practice floor and he said, hey, we're working transition defense. And he says, guys don't really understand how loud and how important communication is when you're in a disadvantaged situation. The team's coming down to 4-on-3. Those three guys have to communicate at a much higher level. And, when you watch grade school and you watch high school, it's like kids are basically, they don't open their mouth. And then when you start to get a little bit more accountability at a higher level and the ball moves faster, your ability to communicate has to start taking shape later in your high school years and in college. And we get kids that have never talked before. But to have somebody like that can stress the importance of it is really, really valuable for me. And then, obviously Kristen Cunningham was a guy that I coached at Louisville. He ran my show my first year. We were in the NCAA tournament after we replaced all 5 starters off an NIT team. He's been in coaching the last couple of years with Archie Miller at Rhode Island. I was really excited to get Kristen to come over here. Trey Campbell was at IMG, but I had such healthy respect for Trey as a Catholic school league kid in D.C. himself, and then going to Georgetown and finishing his career at South Carolina as a 5th-year senior. He was at IMG for the last 3 years, working with some of the highest level players, high school basketball offers. My daughter happened to be playing volleyball at IMG, so I was up in the gym a lot over the last year and got to build a relationship with Trey more than being a competitor and coaching against him. And so I just felt like that was a guy that really wanted to get into college coaching, has a great network already in terms of recruiting, great feel for the game, a great head on his shoulders. He's smart, hardworking. And so, yeah, I really love the staff. And I haven't even mentioned Harriman, who, as you talked about before, is as connected internationally as anybody that I could possibly imagine. I mean, we have 7 international guys on our roster. 3 of them we inherited, but 4 of them were directly because of Chris's efforts.
Oh, you don't consider Cleveland as foreign to you?
Not really.
He's going to bring that
Northeastern wall, right? Until they build a wall in Columbus and don't let people down or up. I'm going to say that we're all one big country here.
Yeah. So transitioning into the roster, talk about kind of what you're building this year. And because and talk about the process too. Earlier in our conversation, you talked like, sometimes head coaches might get a week or 2 off. Like, that's just not the case right now, is it? Like, you're going from day one once, the portal opens and recruiting is just, if you lose a day, you lose a player, right? So it's kind of like, talk about what happened since you took over as head coach with the recruiting process, and like what kind of blueprint are you kind of putting on this roster?
I had the benefit of not coming off of a season. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in March and April of 2025 when I do come off of the season where you're exhausted. You've been watching film late at night, preparing. You're in your conference tournament. Hopefully you're playing in the NCAA tournament, and then boom, now it's portal season. Well, I got to walk into portal season. I was energized. I was ready to go. Had my staff. And so for us, it was a matter of, okay, who's staying, which turned out to be Evan Kilminster from Australia, who didn't play a whole lot. CJ Fulton, who was the best assist turnover ratio point guard in the country the last 2 years. Ante Brzovic, who's the best big guy in the CAA. Ante's a guy that, was preseason player of the year going into his junior year. I think he should once again be preseason player of the year, and hopefully he plays to that capability. But you're able to keep those 3 guys and wanted to make sure that the style, at least offensively, that they played in the past, we were able to sort of play in a similar way. We want to be an attacking team on offense. We want to be a team that's not afraid to let the 3-point shot fly. And so in order to do that, you need guys that can shoot it. And so outside of character, integrity, coachability, all the things that you look for in a person, we wanted to make sure that for the most part, every guy on our team had the ability to be respected from the three-point line. Didn't want a guy that was coming in here shooting 13% of his last school, even if he was a great player and a great driver, because I feel like you play 5-on-4 at times or 4-on-5. So shooting was a high priority. And I think we got that. You know, I think we pretty much attacked that with a lot of different positions, from a guy like Darian Boyd from Lipscomb to Lazar Djokovic at Xavier, who, although he didn't prove it maybe in his freshman year at Xavier, he can shoot it. You know, I think A.J. Smith of the Citadel the same way. We've got a lot of guys. Jolay Kirchich from St. Louis. Got a lot of guys that can spread the floor. And let's hope we can guard. I know it's been a big emphasis of ours this summer, but we certainly wanted to try to continue to play a similar style offensively.
Yeah. Did A.J. Smith not have to move?
He did have to move. He didn't have to maybe change zip codes, but he had to move from the apartment he was at in Citadel over to an apartment here closer to Charleston.
Yeah. Yeah. How does that kind of work when a player, because I remember, Sam, who went from USC to UCLA, or no, they went from UCLA to USC, and we were joking about him a couple months ago that he doesn't have to move. Like, how do those conversations go with a local transfer? I mean, is it a little bit different, or is it just all the same?
Well, it's probably each one's probably a little different. You know, A.J. Smith played for Jeff McGinnis in high school at Combine Academy. And so there was a relationship, a long-lasting relationship between A.J. and Jeff that, you know, really allowed us to get in the door. I think A.J., because he's played Charleston the last 2 years, had a healthy appreciation for watching the Cougars win 58 games in 2 years and say, you know what, I really like the way that, number one, I love the city of Charleston, you know, because I've been here for 2 years, and he used to come as a kid on vacations here with his family over the summers. And I think he really liked it here. And I think he got to know a few of the players through the open gyms in the summer. And that relationship with Jeff was just the icing on the cake, and was sort of a great welcome, you know, for us to really get into knowing him and his family, and ultimately making him a Cougar.
Yeah. Awesome. What do you think, Sam?
I think we're ready. Yeah. So I think, Coach, what we do is we do a little thing called the shot clock. LT is going to fire off, 5, 6, 7 questions. Hopefully they're fun. Hopefully they're easy, but feel free to answer however you want. And yeah, we'll have a good time with it for sure. LT, let's let it rip.
Let me clear my throat. What is your spirit animal?
Man, I'm probably supposed to be rapid fire. My spirit animal, man, I don't have a great answer for that. I'll just say my dog Charlie. You know, he's very, very loyal. Unlike, I actually shed. I've lost a lot of hair since I was 20. He doesn't shed. He's hypoallergenic, so it's that's probably a bad comparison. But I love Charlie. I'm going to go with Charlie, my dog.
Great. Love it.
It's like, I once asked someone that was applying a job for me, and I said, if you were an animal, what animal would you be? And he's like, a dog, because they're just like to lie around and are lazy. Never hired that person. All right. If you were a candle scent, what scent would you be?
I think I would I'd go with vanilla. I think it's like not overpowering, right? I'm not trying to overpower, just dominate people in relationships. But I'm there, and it's like, hey, this is a good guy. It smells nice. I'm going to go with vanilla.
Yeah, the two best ones we've had so far is Coach Mac, McNamara, eucalyptus mint, and then Coach Amir Abdul Rahim was, what was it, gunpowder?
Yeah, he said gunpowder.
Wow.
Wow. He is from Atlanta, so all right. Hardest arena to coach in.
I'm sorry?
Hardest arena to coach in.
You've coached in a lot of good ones.
Yeah. For me, it would have been Villanova's, what do they call it? Finnegan or I hope I mispronounce it because I hated playing there. First of all, like, depending on who you were as an opponent, we probably finally got a little credibility towards the end of time when we won the Big East, when they had 4 NBA players. Even though they beat us both times, we still won the Big East regular season, which is hard to believe. I think we ended up 15-3. That was the one year we played in the Sixers arena. We finally earned enough credibility to get out of that little bandbox that they had. But their locker room, fellas, for visitors, their administration should be arrested. Like, people that have never been in the bowels of that arena have no idea how they treat the opponents. Like, there's not enough space for more than 4 people and 4 bags, and you're fitting an entire team and a coaching staff. Like, I don't know. It was brutal.
The toilet was a hole in the ground.
Jay Wright comes out here with his coat and tie, looking so immaculate. It's like, dude, this place stinks. Like, everything's rusted in your locker room. Like, it's not the appearance that it gives on TV. Like that, bad.
They probably gave Coach Wright like the real.
I'm sure.
Locker room for all the suits and everything and get ready. That's
marble floors.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's Finneran Pavilion.
There you go.
In Villanova. Yeah.
All right. Biggest thing you learned or will take away from coaching at Louisville?
The relationships that I had with so many good people. I think in every experience you have positive and you have negative. But I think you learn from them if you have enough humility. Didn't work out the way that I wanted to, but man, I got some great relationships from that place, and lifelong friends. There's a couple of them that are on my staff here, and so yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Okay. Top 3 funniest coaches in college.
Top 3 funniest coaches. I'd say Tim Miles is pretty daggone funny. He likes to be the life of the party when I'm around him. I think Mark Schmidt at Bonaventure. I've had a long-standing relationship with Mark. He's pretty funny. It's great to be around. Nobody else has a sense of humor. Everybody's sort of wrapped up in the next transfer portal. I'm only going with 2 guys that are funny in college basketball: Mark Schmidt. And
you only get 2, LT.
Okay, that's fine. Obviously, they don't teach addition or following directions in Cincinnati, but whatever. Funniest recruiting story.
Oh, wow. I would say, so when Pat Kelsey and I were coaching together at Xavier, we were going to see a kid in North Carolina, and this would have been the September period, maybe even October, where we were doing a home visit, and it was a really important, like every recruit, it was important. We had to get there, and we thought we were sealing the deal. And so practice was going 3 to 5. We had to be out of there no later than 5:15. We had to account for Cincinnati traffic. The fall had already happened, so it was going to be dark out at 5:30, 6 o'clock. And I think our flight was like 7:15, right? So we maybe 7 o'clock. I can't remember the exact time. But we were cutting it close as is. So we get out to the car and we start taking off from Xavier. And, Cincinnati Airport's over in northern Kentucky. And I said, without traffic, it'd probably take you 25 minutes. Well, we get on 71. The moment we get on 71s, it's brake lights as far as the eyes can see. I mean, it's like brake lights everywhere, both directions. We're not moving. We ended up getting off the highway and trying to, because we're both from Cincinnati, navigate through downtown. Every place we turned, there were cars in every direction. We couldn't get over the river. And so both of us, sort of knowing the west side of Cincinnati, say, hey, there's a ferry. It's called Anderson Ferry that you can take that will cross over. Actually, it's not the Anderson Ferry. Anyway, it's a ferry that you can take down the west side of Cincinnati that will take you across the river. So as we start to get over there and pull up, the ferry boat has already left our side of the river. So we know it's got to take all the cars on one side, unload them, take all the cars from the Kentucky side, bring all, it's going to be a 30-minute process. We've already been on the road 50 minutes, and we ended up parking our car in United Dairy Farmers convenience store. And we have our rolling bags, and we ran to the front of the car line. This is like 50 cars in line. And we asked the guy, listen, can you take us across the river in your car? Because he's first in line. Whoa. And the guy looked at us and said, are you guys going to kill me? And I said, no, we won't, as long as you get us over there. And so this guy let us get in his truck. We had our 2 rolling bags. We totally parked our car in UDF and left the keys in it for our, somebody to pick up. And we go over in somebody we don't know across the river, Ohio River. He takes us to the airport. We made our flight by like 10 minutes. We end up landing in North Carolina. We go see the kid, had the home visit. And I think the kid went somewhere else. So that's sort of story in recruiting.
That's funny.
Yeah. I mean, fellas, we had 2 hours planned. It took us every bit of 2 hours to get to the airport.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's amazing. All right. Song that best describes you. What's your walkout song? And it can't be Return of the Mack.
Man, man, you put me on the spot here. I would say I've really turned into more of a country guy. I really like, never used to. I know that's not necessarily a great walkout song. I'll just say I'm going to go way off the wall. This isn't country. I'm going to go Staying Alive, Bee Gees.
There you go.
Nice.
A little old school, right?
I like that. Yeah.
Still alive.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. All right, last question. If they made a Hollywood movie about your life, who would play you?
Well, I mean, you always want a good-looking dude, but it probably wouldn't happen. I'm going to go with Matthew McConaughey, because at least my wife would be a little bit more excited to, be around that guy than me. So I don't blame her. He's a lot better looking than I am, but you want a good actor, so I'm going to go with McConaughey.
Yeah.
It's a good answer.
I'm surprised you married your wife because she went to Dayton, but whatever.
The worst thing about her isn't the fact that she went to Dayton. I can handle that, but she was a closet Pittsburgh Steelers fan, which I did not know until we got married. So like while we were dating, she had the Ocho Cinco jersey on and going to the games with me. And then we get married and she's like, hey, I've always rooted for the Steelers. And now she'll never put a Bengals jersey. I shouldn't say that. She'll root for both, but in her heart, she's a Pittsburgh Steeler fan first and foremost. And that's very unfortunate in our family.
Yeah. She played college hoops at Dayton too, right? Do you guys?
She did. She's in our Hall of Fame. She was a really good player for sure.
Does she ever give you feedback on your games?
A little bit, but like she knows. She was in coaching as well, so it's like again, there's a million different ways to skin a cat, but she'll tell me when she feels like a player needs to be a little more aggressive. Hey man, that's how you got to play. You got to play aggressive if you want your result, man. You got to go after it.
Yeah. Sam, you want to finish him off?
Yeah, Coach. I'm just going to turn the show over to you for a minute. Anything you want to share with the Cougar faithful, students, alumni, boosters? Any games you guys have circled next season as you're kind of I don't know if your season's finalized with scheduling and whatnot, or you're still trying to put a couple pieces in. But anything you want to share with College of Charleston fan base, just let it rip.
Yeah, number one, just incredibly honored to be the head coach here. John Kress started something special. He really did. And it took him from, being a school that wasn't even close to being a Division I school to, establishing a tradition where coaches were just, flocking to this job because of how he put Charleston on the map. And so really honored and excited to be the head coach here. We open with an incredibly tough opponent on November 8th, which is a Friday night. We play Amir's team, South Florida, who a year ago I think was predicted last in their conference and ended up winning their conference over Memphis and FAU. So the respect that we have for the job that he's done in one short year, it's remarkable. So we know what we're attempting to face on that first home opener. And that's after we go out to South Dakota and open with Southern Illinois, who's not going to be an easy opponent as well. So, the great thing about Charleston is we've had 24 straight sellouts before I was even here. And I think that the demand for tickets is extremely high. They won 58 games, which is the second most in NCAA right now, behind UConn in the last 2 years, to win 58 games, almost 30 a season. So I understand the expectations here, and I think fans are excited, and I think we have a team that I think is going to be really enjoyable to watch. I think we have a really good team. But having it on paper and doing it on the court are two different things, and so nobody's crowned anything yet.
Yeah. Well, Coach, thanks so much. You're going to stick on for one more second, but thanks for being with us. We're excited to watch the Cougars. And if you ever have time, go to Isle of Palms and go to Acme Low Country. My wife will be jealous, as will I. But,
I will do it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Sam, thanks again. Coach Mack, thanks again. And keep following and listening to Full Court Press Podcast, a college basketball experience.